Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Now, we begin the conversation in Uganda, on the eastern part of the continent, where President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda has asked the Kenyan government to hand over to Uganda the Turkana warriors accused of killing 3 geologists and 2 UPDF soldiers in the restive Karamoja sub-region in March last year. Now, recall in March 2022, security forces in Moroto District in the mineral-rich sub-region in northeastern Uganda recovered 5 bodies belonging to 3 geologists attached to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development who were attacked and killed alongside their 2 UPDF escorts as they conducted mineral mapping in the area.
In an 18-page executive order released yesterday, President Museveni said that any Turkana pastoralist crossing to Uganda with a gun would be charged with terrorism. He maintained that the killers of the geologists must be handed to Uganda for trial of murder, adding that the guns were handed back to the government of Uganda, but not the killers. This morning, we're joined by retired General Gregory Mugisha Muntu, former Commander, Uganda People's Defense Forces, and currently President Alliance for National Transformation Party. Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, so I would like you to please give us a picture of what the situation is with cattle rustlers in Uganda and why it, took this long. This happened last year. Why did it take the president this long to make the move regarding the killings that happened precisely on the 21st of March, 2022?
I'm not aware yet what has informed General Museveni write the executive order or sign the executive order he has done. That part of the country, the northeast, where we border with Kenya, and also in the north, we border with South Sudan, and Kenya also borders with South Sudan. That area has got a number of ethnic groups which are pastoral in nature, and because of the insecurities that there have been in that part of the region, there have been so many conflicts, and therefore there has been a proliferation of weapons. I remember when we took power in 1986, that Karamoja area, because there had been a breakdown of governments before, had about 46,000 AK-47s in that area. Now they have been reduced significantly. They are just in a couple of hundreds. However, on the other side of Kenya, the Turkana, and on the side of South Sudan, the Didinga and the Toposa, because of the insecurities that have been in Ethiopia, which also borders with Kenya and South Sudan, there's also been proliferation of small weapons, mostly AK-47s. So that area is very, very insecure. So my hope is that the Ugandan government would need to have a comprehensive plan and or maybe a framework, more so East African community, under which they could discuss and see how that insecurity could be brought down, and also mechanisms of trying those who commit crimes in all the 3 countries. It seems to me that the executive order he has just written only is in regard to one incident, but there are many incidents in all the 3 countries. So my hope is that they can work out the plan in which they can handle. Because if you hand over the Turkana in just one case, then what happened? If the Karamoja attack Kenya and kill some Turkana there, or if Turkana attack Toposa in South Sudan, or if the Toposa maybe cause atrocities in the Turkana area of Kenya. The 3 countries, fortunately, are under East African community. So under that framework, they can work out arrangements in which they can work together to stabilize the area and pacify it.
Okay. General, in Nigeria, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in certain parts of Nigeria, the Middle Belt region mostly, there have been, some of these clashes that have been, a lot of people would argue falsely termed farmers' herders clashes in Nigeria, where, of course, it seems like, it's a fight over land, but it has led to the death of thousands of people. With what you're describing now with Uganda and, of course, the Turkana fighters and the Kenyans, is there more to this story than we might be aware of? Is there, maybe also a long history that might be ignored in telling the full story of what is happening here, or what has caused this clash?
Unfortunately for all those communities, the Karamoja in Uganda, the Turkana in Kenya, the Dinga, Toposa in South Sudan, Those are areas that are more or less marginalized. For some strange reason, the governments, or the three, have never paid specific attention to develop those areas. The areas which tend to be quite dry, they lack water, and they are pastoral. And they also had a culture before modern weapons were introduced in those areas of cattle raids. And therefore, when countries don't pay specific attention in doing things that would alleviate their lives, and in a situation where they've got possession of weapons, it creates a big problem. It creates a problem for people who want to live peacefully and take care of their livelihoods and families. It requires focus of resources to ensure that there's provision of water, infrastructure, to engage on a consistent basis, to know that there are healthcare systems, educational systems. Without focus by the three governments, that area is going to remain unstable.
General, how does this in any way, or would you say that this has become some form of a diplomatic issue? And how do you think that this would affect Kenya-Uganda relations?
Come again, I didn't get that clear.
I was asking if you think that this might end up becoming a diplomatic issue. Would you say it has become, or it will become a diplomatic issue? And how do you foresee that this would affect Kenya-Uganda relations?
I'm not so sure why General Museveni has chosen to handle it in this way, because there have been quite a number of incidents. Okay, most of them have been internal within Uganda, and of course in Kenya there are also incidents that take place within Kenya. This was cross-border, but there's a framework of East African community within which it can be discussed. Basically, to look at how those areas can be stabilized so that the Turkana can live in peace, the Karamoja can live in peace, as well as the Southern Sudan pastoral groups like the Toposa. I get a feeling that this is just a knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, and how would you how would you advise, if you were, to advise General Museveni on how to handle this? Because of course I know that, there needs to be justice for, these 5 persons who were killed, and the Kenyan government cannot be seen to be delaying justice or delaying the investigation into these killings. And so what would your advice be to General Museveni or, of course, the Kenyan government?
That's why there must be close collaboration and engagements under the auspices of East African community to ensure that incidents of that nature, whether they happen in the Kenyan soil or Ugandan soil or South Sudan, that there's a framework within which all countries know what needs to be done. If it is the justice systems in the 3 countries, that there is close monitoring from the under East African community and from the diplomats of the different countries in the capitals to ensure that justice is done. Because I'm not so sure that that would necessarily be the last incident that could happen. There are many more incidents that happen. The only reason why this has taken, I think, prominence is because of the nature of the people who are killed, being geologists. But the ordinary Ugandans who die in Kenya, they are in that part of the region. There are many Kenyans who die in Uganda. There are those who die in South Sudan. People who belong to those specific ethnic groups. Therefore, things that it seems attention.
Yeah, General, can you hear us? All right, we may have lost the connection there. Of course, with the conversation in Uganda, and of course, with regards the pastoralists and the geologists, rather, they were killed. 5 of them, or 3 of them, rather, with 2 of their security forces. We hope that we can continue and, of course, figure out what exactly must be done next by these 2 countries, and, of course, find justice for these who have been killed.